Politics Done Right is a program that wants everybody to come together. People on the right, on the left, etc. I want everybody to be able to open their eyes and see things. I don't want progressives to cower to conservatives who generally have a big mouth in trying to state how good their values are, when in reality, there are several truths. The truth that red states are less educated than blue states, the truth that blue states support red states, the truth that in red states, the life expectancy is lower than in blue states. The fact of the matter that the government in general has to do so much more in red states than they do elsewhere. And so we had somebody in our chat that decided to say, well, if the red states are so bad, why are people moving from the red states to the from the blue states to the red states? Well, it's an economic choice. You make your money in the blue states, you get educated in the blue states. When I say that in the aggregate, and then when you want your money to go further, you then jump down and live into the red states, and you have those people in the red states then come and serve you in a form of indentured servitude as they serve the people moving in from the blue states. Yeah, I'm only being a little childish right there, but you get the point. Anyway, thanks to one of our great listeners, El Senor Tom Zarnik. He found this article that I think is a very important article, which is germane to the discussion that we were having here, which is Americans are increasingly moving to red Republican leaning states where life is cheaper, but also die younger. But I tell you what else is good about that. By us getting more blue people coming to red states, it means these red states eventually will turn blue. So here we go. The United States is an increasingly polarized country when it comes to the politics, but one thing that almost all people want to live a long, healthy life. More and more Americans are moving to from Democratic leaning blue states to Republican voting red ones. And one of the effects of this change is that they are relocating to places with lower life expectancy. Idaho, Montana, and Florida, all red states, had the greatest population growth among U.S. states between 2020 and 2022. Meanwhile, New York and Illinois, both blue states, and Louisiana, a red state, suffered the biggest population losses. California, another blue state, had experienced significant recent population loss as well. One key reason for this migration is the high cost of living in places like New York and California, compared to the lower cost of living in red states such as Georgia and Indiana. I am a scholar who studies the intersection between politics, media, and psychology. I think it is important to note that another trend, though, is that people are largely migrating to places with lower life expectancies. There is a large difference in expected lifespans for people living in certain states, according to U.S. Census for Disease Control and Prevention of data. For instance, people born in New York and California, two of the richest states in the country, which largely vote Democratic, have a life expectancy of 77.7 and 79 years, respectively. But people in Mississippi and Louisiana, two of the poorest states, which tend to vote Republican, live on average until they are 71.9 and 73.1 years old. Wow, they sound like third world countries. People who live in Republican-leaning states tend to have less money, worse health condition, higher rates of gun-related deaths, and lower levels of education than people living in Democratic states. On average, people in red states have higher rates of poverty than residents of blue states. Poverty is an indicator of life expectancy in the U.S. The poorer someone is, the more likely to die younger. But there are likely other issues at play in people in red states having lower lifespans. Health differences. Research in 2020 showed that America is in blue states tend to live longer than people in red states, primarily because of state policies on everything from seatbelt laws to abortion laws. That research also identified health policy as a major factor. People in blue states also tend to have higher rates of health insurance than people in red states. Moreover, and look at what we do in Texas. In Texas, we don't even take the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care, which means our politicians kills our people. Those of you listening to me right now, if you're in a red state, say hi to your politician who have likely killed a relative of yours. Moreover, when looking at rates of people who are diagnosed with cancer in each state, it is clear that people in red states are generally less healthy than people in blue ones. Red state residents are also more likely to die from heart disease than people in blue states, but health rates vary greatly across racial and ethnic groups. Black and Hispanic people are far more likely than white and Asian people in the U.S. to not have access to quality, affordable health care, regardless of their state of residency. And Black people remain more likely than white people to have high blood pressure and to die from heart disease, among other conditions. Another key factor in this lifespan trend is that people in red states have lower levels of education than people in blue states. This matters since some recent research has shown that education levels are the best predictor of a person's lifespan for a variety of complex interconnected reasons, including an increased likelihood receiving a higher educational with lead to boost in income. Experts also often consider race and ethnicity another major factor, in part because of structural inequalities facing people of color that may place access to quality, affordable education out of reach. For example, lack of education may be the most direct reason for lower incomes and short lives, but it is not clear if attaining a higher level of education makes people wealthier, or if people who are born in wealth receiving more and better education. All right. Are people moving to die young? There are other reasons that factor into complex questions of life expectancy and discrepancies in longevity. One reason identified by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, for example, is that there are more gun deaths by homicide and suicide in red states than blue states. People are moving to different states in the U.S. for a variety of reasons, including in some cases political ideologies. While blue zip codes have been found to be getting bluer, red ones are becoming even more red. But it is important to keep in mind that data on lifespan and health are simply averages, and so there can be a high variation within particular locations. There are people in red and blue states who defy these statistics. Many people living long lives in poor red states and people dying younger in rich blue ones. Still, the overall trends are clear. People living in blue states, by and large, tend to live longer, healthier, and wealthier lives. And this was taken out of the conversation. And I used to do a lot of work in the conversation with promoting a lot of their information. So for all of you that want to put your heads in the sand, everything that this guy puts in the article is corroborated by governmental data and other types of data. So let me tell you, progressives, don't allow yourself to be snowed by people trying to make it seem that somehow red states are good, as I said. So it turns out we can qualitatively and quantitatively let you know that progressive policies makes you live longer. Progressive policies keep you more educated, and progressive policies gives you a better life form, period. So my progressives, go out there, my progressives, and do not cower to the misinformation. Do not cower to the loud mouths who are there trying to show that their welfare states are anything other than welfare states, that their support for people are anything other than evil. Please go out there and do your job, progressives. That's how you win 2024, by putting it into the face of people to let them know that the people they're voting for are killing them.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.